welcome to Talking Reds on the Anfield Apps YouTube channel. I'm Dan Austin, this is Fuad Hasan. It's Monday morning, we're in Liverpool, and it's a bit of a weird one, I think, because we were top of the league for a bit, and now we're not top of the league anymore. So I'm sort of conflicted in a way. Like, I'm really, really happy with a better performance, really good atmosphere against Bournemouth, loads of really good goals. It just feels like a bit of a shame that they've played that one game more, and we don't get to actually look at the league table on a Monday going into a new week and feel like we're top of that.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I think it's more to do with how they played City, and the score of that game was just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Liverpool played against that Chelsea defence, you'd probably see a similar scoreline. I don't think City were particularly Bournemouth did it exactly, yeah. And I think that's 12 goals they've conceded in the last 3 away games, Chelsea, which is just ridiculous. And if we were in the same position, I reckon it could have been 6-7 because of the chances City missed as well. It's just mad. But anyways,
It's really good to have had that positive result and really good performance to go with it as well after 2 really disappointing ones against West Ham and Leicester rather, because it just wasn't a nice place to be, like either at Anfield against Leicester or in the away end at the London Stadium, and it felt like not necessarily nerves were getting to the players, but just it felt like some of them were maybe out of form. The ones that were missing were really, really being missed. Yeah. And it was certainly getting to the crowds, and people's heads were gone over the lack of results for that little week. So to be able to combine another win, you feel like you're back on form and stuff, quite a few players back to fitness and playing again, but also to play as well as we did. I mean, we could have won that game 6 or 7-0 really if we'd have had a bit better finishing. Definitely. And if Artur Boruc hadn't played as well as he did. Scored 3 really, really good goals. It just felt like the perfect win, because I went into it thinking any win here, and I'm delighted. 1-0, own goal, 90th minute. Perfect. Yeah. Take it, get the points, have this little break, go to Bayern, refresh.
Yep, exactly.
But to actually have the performance and the quality of play to go with it was ideal, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. I think it's probably the best we've played in a while. I think that was the main thing. We just kind of wanted to see Liverpool play well, because the Brighton game, we win 1-0, we play some good football, but it wasn't quite the performance like you'd associate with us earlier on the season, where we're completely in control in patches. So it was just great to see the players, I guess, enjoy it as well. Fabinho against West Ham couldn't find his touch at all, and then yesterday, some of the stuff he was doing, the way he sets up that third goal is brilliant. I don't think there's many strikers in world football who'd even think about doing something like that when they're in that position. So just all around the pitch, Robertson, there was talk about him being slightly off form, and yesterday he was absolutely brilliant. You see the difference Gini Wijnaldum's made coming back into the team, and how much he offers, and what a goal that was. Something you don't really associate with him, and something we want to see more from the midfield, and he came up with a world-class finish, I guess.
Those ones where the goalkeeper makes the spearman sort of slow-mo dive and knows he's never ever getting there, they're really satisfying goals to watch going on.
He made Artur Boruc look tiny. I don't know if he is tiny, but he looked really small.
I mean, he's about 25 stone, I think, at this stage. Boruc, I wouldn't call him tiny. But as you say, they're pretty much everyone played really quite well. Yeah. I don't think anyone individually was brilliant. No. But just the fact that everybody was probably a 7 or 8 out of 10 and looked really in rhythm, worked really well as a unit, just gave it a lot more confidence, because certainly against West Ham in particular, I think a lot of things felt very disjointed. It felt like we had very separate areas of the pitch. We had the defence, we had the midfield, and we had attack, and they were playing very different games of football. Yeah. Whereas this one, there was just so much fluidity there, and suddenly some of the ones that have been maligned in recent weeks, and probably quite rightly in terms of individual performances, but I'm thinking about Matip and Keita, weren't necessarily Liverpool's best players in this game, but played really, really well, and for me, gave me a lot of confidence that if they continue to play games, which certainly Matip looks like he's going to do, and as long as Keita performs as well as he did the other day will do, gave me a lot of confidence that they can be relied upon now, because I think probably going into Bournemouth beforehand, I was a little bit worried about them.
Yeah, I think there's something quite interesting with Keita now. You've seen from Jurgen's post-match comments, he talks about him being kind of the first name on the team sheet at the moment just because of rhythm, and I think that's what they're trying to build with him. I think he's now reached the stage, hopefully, where he's built that platform. I don't think you can't expect a player like that to just get into a game and start scoring goals, playing assists, playing really neat football. I think he had to build this platform of just solidifying his position, getting comfortable with his teammates in the league as well. And I think now, I really think we'll look back at the end of the season, and there's going to be a game where we kind of just associate as the Naby Keita game, whether that's Bayern Munich, whether that's United away. I think we're close to the stage now where he just takes a game completely by the scruff of the neck. And that ball he plays for for the third goal. It's brilliant. I don't think it's kind of been seen enough, but because of Firmino's touch. But it was a really good little pass, and hopefully this is now kind of like him kicking on.
I think that's the interesting thing, is that we've seen probably games of a similar quality to this from him already, but quite a while ago. So he was really, really good at Turf Moor against Burnley. Opening day against West Ham, he looked really, really lively. He didn't look like a new player. He seemed to fit in along that left-hand side really well with Mane and Robertson. But it's been quite a while since we've seen him play that well. Hopefully now, and with Klopp mentioning about the rhythm and that he's first name on the team sheet, if he gets a run, which he might well be likely to do with, Henderson still not fully fit, Ronaldo only just coming back, and Shaqiri being out for I don't know how long. They haven't really said anything on him yet. If he gets those games, that moment that he has where it's not quite a nearly, it's the main event, should happen soon. Because if you think about, he played quite well at Crystal Palace as well earlier in the season, and he does that mad turn and the ball over the top, and he has the shot against Burnley that's nearly a brilliant goal but not quite. I feel like we're on the verge of it going from really good but not quite to him having, even if it's not a full game, even if it's not a 90-minute game where he's the best player on the pitch, just where he has maybe a 10 or 15-minute spell where he scores a brilliant goal and it just feels like that's his moment, and he goes from there.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think, the big challenge for him now is to stitch 2, 3, 4, 5 performances like that, where he can maintain it consistently. Because, like you said, the last one we really saw from him was the Turf Moor, and that's been a while. And consistency is the hardest thing to kind of get. I think also on you look at Mane as well. He's quietly stitching together a little run, 4 goals in 4 games, and I think it hasn't really been talked about because of the results of 2 of those games. And he's one. If he's going to kick on and start scoring again, like he has had in patches over the last 2 seasons, and he's always been consistently good with it, then that's 2, 3 players that are really kind of hitting the top form at the most crucial part of the season.
As we mentioned earlier, obviously City then play after us, and you're thinking, maybe there's a chance, because we've had the psychological edge there, we've gone top, it's 3 points, they're playing against ostensibly a difficult team to play against. The first time that we actually went top of the league was when we played Bournemouth and they played Chelsea, and because they were playing Chelsea afterwards, I think that's why they lost that game, because we'd gone to Bournemouth, battered them, it was the first time we were ahead, they struggled to deal with it mentally, and I thought the same might happen this weekend. Not necessarily that they'd lose to Chelsea, but that they'd find it difficult. Maybe if it's 0-0 on 60, they get a bit panicky. They stop with their game plan, like they did in the games against Palace and Leicester as well, where it wasn't that they were playing against better teams, it was just that they looked like they lost their self-belief, and partly because Liverpool were doing so well. And then me and you watched it yesterday, and we were slightly late to the pub.
What was the score at that point?
We walked in on 15 minutes and it was 2-0. And Aguero put another one in pretty much 2 minutes after we sat down with a pint. And it was just like, fuck's sake, like I could really do without this. Like we had the whole like positivity of the day before, the performance, the points, the results, everything. And then it wasn't that you came crashing back down to earth, because we're still, it's in our hands, it's absolutely in our hands. We're still, in my opinion, the best team in the country. But you could just do with them fucking off, really, couldn't you, for a little bit? And Tottenham as well. Because like I'd written Tottenham off a month ago, to be completely honest. I was convinced that they were not our business really anymore. Certainly after that Wolves defeat, which is mid-December, I think.
Just when they claw back a bit of kind of gap.
Exactly, between. And I was just like, well, this is, we had that 10-point gap to City at one point, and Spurs were gone, and it's gone right to the end, isn't it, if we're being honest? Like, I still am completely convinced that we're going to do it, and I still, right at this very moment, we are the best team in the country, but it's going to be right to the end, and there's only 12 games left, there's only 6 at home. It's getting to the bit where it's just so tense, and it's all that you think about all the time. Yeah,
and that might make it, even if we do it, it might make it even extra special. Just because we've really been through it. It doesn't matter how you win it, because it's tough either way. But if we won it against 2 teams who are really kind of playing at the highest level we've seen in the Premier League for years, I don't remember a title race this tight for some time in terms of the number of points and how close
the level of quality teams, as well. Like even if there were tight title races 7 or 8 years ago, the teams weren't as good as this. I don't think.
And there would be 85 points, 86 point kind of margins. We're looking at 100 points at the moment, which is just ridiculous. And to think 2 draws will take away any momentum, and suddenly the whole narrative changes after that. That's mad. That's something that I've never seen before. I don't think the Premier League or in kind of English football you've seen before. So I think the main thing with City is look, they score 6 goals, they score 5 goals, they score 2 goals, they're still only getting 3 points. That's how we've got to look at it, and it's still completely in our hands. We go to United, we win there. That's huge. Not just for the league in terms of the points and everything, but confidence-wise, we go into the next games really kind of full of confidence. Yeah.
Last little point on the weekend as well. The atmosphere was great.
Yeah.
For a Saturday 3:00 kickoff against a side that you expect to beat and that you've no discernible rivalry or particular interest in, that was probably the best that I can remember for a very, very long time. It just felt like everyone was enjoying being there, that everyone was believing in the football team. That was probably missing from the previous 2 games, I think. And around sort of 60, 70 minutes when the Fabinho song gets done for about 10 minutes from the Kop, Wijnaldum goes off and gets a huge ovation and goes straight down the tunnel for a shit, probably. But it was just brilliant to be there because it felt like this is what it should be. Like, as much as we're nervous and as much as we're worried about what's to come and everything, when they're playing well, and when you can have a positive influence, it's important to just really get behind them and have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of talk before the game about the atmosphere and everything. The Spine Cop released that statement, and it was all a lot of positivity going into it. And you saw the banner out at "You'll Never Walk Alone," the Unity Strength one, which we last kind of saw in 13-14, and I think you could just feel from there that there was going to be kind of a bit of a special day because everyone was up for it. It wasn't one of those days where it was a little bit of a chore going to the ground in terms of a 3:00 kickoff. Things haven't been going so great. There was a lot of belief, and that "You'll Never Walk Alone" at the end was really nice as well. And just a really good day, and I think the players really appreciated that. They felt it. I was going through Instagram, and Alberto Moreno was posting pictures of the Kop, which is
he's got to keep himself busy somehow, hasn't he, the poor lad?
Yeah, well, he's resorted just to taking pictures of the Kop, which is great.
They should probably just get him doing social media, really.
Honestly, should.
Just lash him on the Snapchat.
Yeah.
To do a story throughout the match.
Might be an idea. Yeah.
Just before we go then, it's 2 weeks until the next league game, pretty much, United, but only 1 week till Bayern. And I'm really, really looking forward to it now because if the atmosphere was that good for Bournemouth, it's going to be even better for Bayern. And I'm just convinced that we're going to knock them out, and I'm convinced that we might just knock them out pretty much at Anfield anyway, and that might just be me being a moron, really. But I think it's partly because I kind of expect last season's latter stages of the European Cup to come back a little bit. Obviously they're playing a slightly different way now, but I think that the way we played in that competition and the way that competition happened in the context that it did with the sport and everything, I think that just can't not happen again.
Yeah.
So like we could get knocked out here, we could get knocked out in the quarterfinal. I'm not saying we're going to get to the final, but I just mean the sense of belief and fun and enjoyment about the whole thing to me has to be the same, and I think that automatically has to translate to the pitch at least a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a bit of a bonus this season, doesn't it? We've had the league, and that's kind of taken all our emotion, all our excitement, and now we've kind of got this whole other thing that dominated our kind of attention and time last season. So it's really good, and Neuer giving it the big one about Anfield not kind of being intimidating is really nice to hear as well, because we've seen how that's gone in the past.
How do none of them learn?
I don't get it.
Like literally, surely the managers of these footy teams, like when they're doing preparatory meetings in training grounds and stuff, will go, "Hey lads, these have played 17 teams at Anfield lately. Every one of them has said they're not going to be bothered by the crowd, and they've all got absolutely battered."
Yeah, they literally scored 5 in a semi-final.
And then Dries Mertens turns up, says that he's not bothered. They get beat and they miss a last minute chance and whatever. You would just think that these people would learn from it. Just don't mention the atmosphere. Exactly. Just say, "Oh yeah, it's a really big game. We'll do our best." Yada yada yada. All the cliches. Don't be saying, "We're not asked."
Yeah.
And then you see them when they do the little lineup when they're shaking the Champions League ball in the background in the centre circle, and they all have that look at the Kop and they go, "Fucking hell, Manuel was chatting shit, wasn't he?"
Yeah, because there's always at the end, the best thing is there's always a picture, isn't there, when they lose and they're absolutely gutted and they're kind of in awe of the stadium and everything because, the noise has been raised or whatever. And it's just great to see because, I hope they never learn because it keeps going our way and hopefully it will.
Right, just before we go, coming out on the Anfield Wrap Tour Player Service today, you've got the free main Anfield Wrap show, looking back at the weekend and looking forward to. You've also got the review, which is a kind of tactical second look back at the game. And there's also live shows coming up in Ireland, which you can still buy tickets for. There's not so many left, but there are shows in Galway, Dublin and Portlaoise, so go on the Anfield website to look for them. Thanks very much from Fuad, thanks very much from me. Have a lovely day. Up the Reds.